Do you ever wonder if the media is telling you the truth? If the polls are accurate? If there's maybe something else going on that you're not aware of and the media doesn't want to talk about? Because we both know the media's North Star is not accuracy, the truth, objectivity, none of those. None of those journalism standards the media holds up to. That's why I don't call it the news. Because the news has connotations that some type of accurate information can be displayed to the public. But that's not what happens. That is exactly why I created these rankings. To understand what is truly going on in America based upon people's actual behavior. And not just behavior when you look at these polls over on Real Clear Politics where you have 964 people that the media reports as being representative of what the entire population thinks of 300 plus million people. Yeah, less than 1,000 people the media will report on as being accurate representation of what the collective 330 million people in America think. Use your head. Now, with that being said, this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Sam, and for those of you who are returning, it's good to freaking see you. Let's get into the data. We have our Twitter ranking on 4 different factors here, all based upon people's actual behavior. Think about if your boss is standing behind you, what your behavior is like, versus when your boss is on vacation, what your behavior is like. Or not you, because we know you're a model citizen at work and you only do work every second that you're there. But for the other people, right? Think about them. And then take a look at this here, and we're going to examine this 964 number, right? Because we already know this is a stupid low sample size. But what kind of data is it? Is it actually observing what people would do? Would they actually vote this way? Or is this data also manipulated and fake? So what I did is you pull up the Emerson poll. So this is a Emerson. You can click on that link, brings you over to this PDF webpage. You scroll to the bottom here, and it says caller ID. So this is how they gathered the data. We're going to scroll to the very last sentence here, and it says data was collected using an interactive voice responder. So basically what that is you know when you call your bank and you can't talk to anybody, or you call the cable company, you can't talk to anybody, or you call Verizon and you can't talk to anybody, or you call basically any large organization, you can't talk to somebody, you have to go through voice prompts. So it's basically that as a spam call. So there's spam calls coming in, and it's just that system to gather the data. Does that sound like it could give you accurate information? Or does it be like, well, this person, I'm just going to fucking press this button, right? And I don't know if they get incentives because it doesn't say here, but we're going to get into the second part where there is incentives. So what happens when you introduce incentives into collecting data? Does that make the data better, or does it make the data worse? And then not only do you get these automated spam calls, like who first of all is going to pick up an automated spam call? Somebody who probably just doesn't have anything better to do with their time. But then also, who doesn't have anything better to do with their time? People who have fucking landlines. Okay, I'm sure there's plenty of people who have landlines who have like legitimate reasons, like you know those things you wear around your neck, old people do, and they fall over and then they press the button and that's connected to like a landline, maybe something like that. I have no idea. I know one person who has a landline, and the only reason my dad has a landline is for the security in his property. That's it. That's the only reason he has it. And I don't personally know any of my friends at all who have a landline. Even people who have multiple properties, investment properties, own businesses, there's just no point in having a landline. I don't see any reason to have a landline at this moment based upon my POV, right? So they called landlines. Now, when you take a look at this, who is like probably a large portion of the population who is definitely not going to have a landline, or probably thinks similar to how I think in terms of landlines being a cost that doesn't need to be incurred? Well, Generation Z, right? They're the largest generation. millennials, that's my generation. And between those two, that makes up around half of the US population. So right, roughly like 150 million people out of 330. So you're cutting out a giant portion of the population and saying that that is representative of what the collective thinks when you're not even polling 50% of the population. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So that's where 500, they called 532. Well, they probably called 5,000, but there was only 532 suckers who were actually willing to pick up the phone and a spam call that's automated, right? They just don't have anything better to do. So then where does this other piece of data come from to get us to the 964? This is called MTurk, and they gathered 432 data points from that. So you've probably never heard of MTurk, but you have heard of Amazon. Amazon is, they're the owner of MTurk. And if you've ever seen one of those ads or posts on Facebook or some other platform where it says you can make money by filling out surveys, right? And 99% of the time, this posts or those things are scams, right? Well, this is the same exact thing, but it's not a scam in terms of the people who do it and can make money, but it's trivial on, it's very trivial on the money side of things. But it is more so a way to capture data in a very inexpensive way for companies, right? Because when I went in here and created an account, I probably did 50 or so surveys. There is no incentive for me to provide accurate information. The only incentive I have is to click through these questions as quickly as humanly possible so that I can get paid. Let me show you, right? We've got these different political surveys here. And so this one's $1.50. So this $1.50 survey might take 25 minutes if you read through the questions, 30 minutes, right? So you read through this question, you read through the whole survey, it's taking you 30 fucking minutes for $1.50. Yes, that's how it works. So the person who's taking the survey, do you think they for a fucking moment have any incentive to provide accurate information? No, not at all. I literally just clicked through as fast as humanly possible. The first couple I started reading and I was like, wow, this is a complete and utter waste of my time. You are making literally cents per hour. It is a complete waste of time, right? Maybe somebody who's just sitting at home who doesn't do anything, I have no idea. Maybe somebody figured out a system to automate it so that they can just have it click through and shit for them. I have no idea. But this, my friends, is where almost 45% of the data is gathered. What? This Emerson poll is what the media reports on as being representative of what the collective America thinks. Right? You can see what is happening here. You're going to leave out half the population in 532 of these landline polls, right, from an automated spam caller. And you're going to have most of the population who doesn't have landlines, and then the population who does, who is going to pick up that phone? It's going to be people who just don't have anything better to do with their life because maybe they're not satisfied with their life because they're not fucking doing anything, or they're just old people, right? Who the fuck has time to fill out these literally spam automated calls? I'm sure there's somebody out there who does that, and they think it's like they're like a glorious person for taking the time to do it. I don't get it, but I'm sure there's somebody out there who does it. And then you get another 432 data points from people who have zero incentive to provide any accurate data here for $1.50. And that is where the rest of that data comes from. Now think when the media tells you who is winning, right? Because all of these polls here have Biden winning, and they all have similar strategies for gathering data. So that's why I created these rankings. And we have a 4-factor model here for Twitter to understand who is actually winning based upon people's actual behavior. Every day we do one. Tomorrow is going to actually be our YouTube and Google search volume for each one of these candidates over time, so you get to see who is actually winning based upon what people are searching, right? And that has millions of data points. So make sure you press that subscribe button and that bell notification so YouTube can notify you when I drop that video. We've got Donald Trump here first. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is the total number of followers that were gained over the last 30 days. We can see that Trump had 1.85 roughly million new followers over the last 30 days. So let's take a look at this. We have 1.85 almost million versus a 1.07 million. So we've got almost 2 to 1, meaning for every one follower Biden gets, Trump gets 2, almost, right? But wait a second. That's not what the data says. That the media reports on. So let's take a look at, well, that's just one factor, right? So this next factor is more so to understand who's putting in the most amount of work. So this is relative to the actual candidate, because we want to understand who is actually trying to communicate their message. When you look at how the world works today, you have to be able to communicate with your audience and get attention. If you're incapable of getting the attention of people, you will not sell your product, you will not impact a cause, you will not raise money, etc., etc. You need to be able to have attention. This is why we do the website rankings, to understand whose website is more popular. And in this here, we can see that Trump tweeted 841 times communicating with the public, where Biden tweeted 223 times with the public. So if you're trying to articulate and you're trying to win, you have to work to do that. You need to be able to communicate with your audience. And we can see that that is 4 to 1. Trump is putting in practically 4 times as much work to get his message out. But remember, Biden doesn't have to put in as much work because he's got the whole media on his side. So he can rely on the media. And remember this, all of this false data here, to work on his behalf. So he doesn't have to work as hard because he has the media on his side. So you can understand the amount of work involved here to overcome that handicap that the media has, right? So we take a look at another data point here, and this is actually from the largest website in the planet, Google, and we look at the search volume for Donald Trump Twitter and Joe Biden Twitter on Google in the United States over the last 30 days. And we can see that this tiny little red line at the bottom here, this is Joe Biden. There's not a lot of interest in Joe Biden at all on the web in the United States. We can see that out of those 2 search terms, Trump has nearly 93% of all the search volume. And that is on millions and millions of data points across the United States versus 964 data points, or 1,160, or 1,932 data points. Which one do you think could possibly be more accurate when you know where this data comes from and this is actual people's behavior, right? People actually took the time from their day to go follow Trump. And I'm sure that there's people who don't like Trump who follow Trump, and I'm sure that there's people who don't like Biden who go follow Biden. My question to those people is, what are you doing with your life? That you don't have anything better to do with your time than follow somebody you don't like? Wonder how satisfied you are or fulfilled in your life and happy you are in your life to take that time out of your life and go do that? It doesn't like resonate with me. I just don't get it. The last one here, before we actually get into what is going on with this pedophilia stuff, if you've noticed what is going on, it starts to bubble up on social, but the media is not covering it. So what we did for the last and fourth factor here, and right now we've got Trump 3 to 0, right? Biden has 0. This is the total number of retweets. So this is the total number of times somebody's clicked on this and then retweeted it with a comment or just retweeted it by itself. And we looked at the past 10 tweets from each candidate, and we added up the total number of retweets. Because this is also an indicator of behavior, what people are actually doing. And when we take a look at this, this is based on thousands, right? So this is 381,000 retweets over the last 10 tweets that they've had versus 96,000 retweets. A big fucking difference. Again, 4 to 1. And you could even argue that Trump has a disadvantage in this point because of the amount of work he has to put in. So if you're putting in a shitload more effort into it, meaning you're tweeting 841 times versus 220 times, right? That because you're tweeting so much, your average number of retweets per tweet is going to be lower than somebody who just tweets once or twice a day, right? And those get retweeted more often, right? But that's just not the case. The average number of retweets for each one of these is substantially different, right? We've got an average number of 10,000 for Biden versus an average number of 38,000 for Trump. Big fucking difference. So when we look at all these factors here, we can see that there's a clear winner in one direction. This is based upon people's actual behavior, right? And then how much work each candidate is putting in. And we can understand that the data over here is captured in a way that just doesn't make sense. This is not based upon reality. This is not based upon reality. You're an intelligent human being, and you know how to use your head. Start fucking thinking, right? Now, you may have potentially seen that stuff around pedophilia is popping up. So I wanted to show you some data around that. This is pedophile over the last 30 days, where Clinton has been on the island with 2 young girls from New York. These are from the documents that were unsealed back in 2015 for Epstein, right? But the media doesn't cover that. No, because that's their boy. Got you, boy. Blue, right? They're not going to say shit about their boy. No, right? Have you ever seen those things online where somebody calls their boy to test them out to see if they'll lie for them about a girl? Right? That's like what the media is. That's like what the media is with Bill Clinton. However, look at this. There's a trend over the last 30 days as this has increased. But what is kind of interesting is when you look at the macro trend here over 12 months, what does this look like? That's called an exponential curve. There's about to be some shit that happens big time. This curve is not just in the United States. This has been something, this is global search volume over the last 12 months for the word pedophile. This is about to get very, very interesting, and there's going to be a lot of people that some people currently respect that are going to lose all of that respect. Because what is about to take place has been in the works since 2016. Look at the sealed indictments that are about to start being released and all the subpoena data that has come out. The U.S. has been making arrests around the world related to this, but the media doesn't like to report on that. This is going to be a very, very interesting election over the next 90 days or so. So if you want to follow along with all of this, make sure you press that subscribe button. If you support the truth, take a moment and share this video with somebody, because we already know this is not going to get presented in the mainstream media. We have to rise up with our voice, and this is the first time in history where the American public has had a voice. We didn't have these platforms 20 years ago. We had 3 fucking white dudes, ABC, CBS, and NBC, right? Or CBS, or whatever it was, ABC, CBS, and NBC, I think it was, right? I haven't had a television since 2009. I don't watch TV. That's another thing you should probably not do. Read, watch, or listen to any media at all whatsoever. Complete garbage. Garbage in, garbage out. Like, it's all complete garbage. So if you agree with this and standing up for your own freedom, right? Because this here is not freedom. This is an agenda. This is clearly an agenda. Share this video with somebody. Take a moment and think about who will get some value out of this and share this video with them. I appreciate you guys. Don't forget to press that like button as well, and I'll talk to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe as well.